Hi there, it's Jules from the Jules Sweet Creations kitchen, and today I thought, as I'm here and I'm covering a cake in marzipan, I would invite you along to have a look and see how I do it. Okay, so I've got my cake here, my rich fruit cake. This is a 6-inch, it's about the size of it, and it's about 3 inches tall. So we'll be covering that. I've got all my tools here. I've got my rolling pin, got some icing sugar to sprinkle on my surface so the marzipan doesn't stick. I've got a small knife just to cut round the marzipan. I've got a pastry brush for brushing on the apricot jam. If you're using a pastry brush, make sure it's for your cake use only and it's not being used by anyone else, the rest of the family, to brush to egg wash like pastries and things like that with eggs and God knows what else. So make sure it's clean and it's for your cake use only. I have some apricot jam here which has been warmed just to make it more spreadable. If you're really fussy, you can actually sift it to get rid of the bits. I don't bother with that. It's fine as it is. There's your apricot jam, and I have got 450 grams of marzipan, which I'm hoping will be enough. Okay, this is white marzipan. You can get yellow marzipan. I just pick up whatever's available. I don't really see it makes much of a difference. Okay, so, and I have my cake smoothers just to smooth around the marzipan when it goes on. I've gone for a bit of a thicker spacer to roll out my marzipan. These are, can't see, 3/16 of an inch, so they're a bit thicker than 1/8 of an inch, which is what you would probably normally roll your sugar paste out to. Okay, so shall we get started? First of all then, I am going to just talk through how I'm going to do it. Now you can just cover a cake in marzipan as you would a cake, but you would coat it with a coating of apricot jam. You would roll out your marzipan as normal, you'll drape it on, and you will smooth it down, trim off, just as you would a cake. That's absolutely fine. There's no problem in doing that at all. Today I'm going to show you how to panel it, where you do the top and then you do the sides, so you get a really nice sharp edge and a clean finish. Now the top of my cake is already quite flat, alright, so I don't really think that I will need to turn it round so the bottom is the top of the cake, although that is super flat. But if you do want to do that, if you do want to turn your cake round so you're using the bottom as a top, so you've got that nice flat surface, but you've also got this rim at the bottom, what you would do is you would get your cake drum that you're using, or your cake card, okay, you would put it on, put your cake on your cake drum like that. Now you can see that little rim there, can't you? So what you would then do is get a sausage of marzipan and go round and fill that rim in. Just fill it in underneath, smooth it down with your smoothers so it's flush to the cake board and that rim is protected and sealed. Then you would go ahead and you would cover it as normal. Okay, I'm not going to do that today, I'm just going to use it like this. Alright, so let's get the fondant rolled out so we can cover the top first. Okay, I have kneaded my, not the fondant, marzipan, sorry, brain freeze again. I've kneaded my marzipan a bit, so it's already a little bit pliable, so I won't have to do too much kneading on camera because it takes up too much time. So I'm just going to snap a bit of that off. I'm not going to weigh or measure, I'm just going to hope for the best. So I'll get a block of the marzipan and some icing sugar. Right, you need quite a bit of icing sugar for marzipan because it is quite sticky. All right, so let's just give that a little bit more of a knead. I'm hoping you can see what I'm doing because I do have, as usual, my phone propped up on some random object from the kitchen. Right, there you go. So let's do this. So there's my, I'm just going to roll out a little disc of marzipan until the spacers don't let me roll out anymore. Okay, I'm going to just get my little cake card so I can just measure how big it's getting. That's fine. You don't have to use a cake card underneath your cake. I just like to have something, if you're not decorating it straight onto the board that it's going to go on, I like to have something underneath the cake just to protect the cake. I don't really like it like moved around on different surfaces if there's nothing underneath it protecting it. So I'm just going to use a little cake card to just protect the bottom of the cake while I'm moving it around before it goes onto its decorated board. But you can decorate it on the board if you want. It's entirely up to you. It depends on what you're doing, really. Okay, so I've rolled out my marzipan. I've got a not say sugar paste or fondant. I've rolled out my marzipan to about that thickness. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my pastry brush and my cake, and I'm just going to put a thin coating of apricot jam on the top. Be careful with your pastry brush. Really keep an eye when you're doing this because let me just move this over here, because the little fibres of the pastry brush do have a tendency of escaping, and you do not want little hair fibres in your cake. So be very, very careful. Be very aware of your brush strokes and what's coming off on them. Okay, this fruit cake has been fed with brandy. It smells absolutely amazing. Let's see, there's a little fibre that's just come off on the onto the cake. Wouldn't be very nice for your customers. Yep, it smells absolutely amazing. So I've got my coating of apricot jam. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to flip the cake onto the marzipan like that, upside down. Make sure it's all in the centre. And I'm simply just going to cut around it. All right, let's just move this out of the way. I'm just going to cut around it. You don't have to be neat and tidy when you're doing this. You just need to cut around it. Try not to cut into your cake. All right, and don't worry if you get bits of cake in your marzipan, because you're going to use it anyway to go around the sides, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so I'll just get my little cake drum back. I'm just going to put a little bit of marzipan on, a little bit of apricot jam on the bottom here, and I'm going to attach my cake card onto the bottom while I've got it upside down. Again, checking for hairs, the little fibres from the brush. You don't want them going in your cake. Okay, now if you're not if you like fruitcake but you don't want alcohol in it, you don't have to have alcohol in it. You can use apple juice instead. When you're soaking your fruit before using it, you can use apple juice instead. You don't have to use alcohol, so don't worry. Okay, so there we have the top of the cake covered. I'm not really going for a super smooth effect on this one, which is why I've used the top of the cake and not the bottom. So yes, it's going to look a little bit bumpy and a little bit bubbly, and that's exactly how I want it for this particular cake. If I wanted a completely flat, smooth surface to work on, I would have turned it upside down and used the bottom of the cake as the top. But the top of the cake here, once it's decorated, it's going to have a snowy effect on the top, and of course snow has those little divots and those little dents and stuff in it, so there is no point going for a perfectly flat surface. So there you go, there's the top covered, okay, and we have our board underneath. So if I just move that out of the way now, I'm going to roll out some more fondant to go around the cake. Just going to get my tape measure so I can just measure the circumference. I know it's 3 inches high, but I just need to know how much I'll need to go round so I know how to cut it. Okay, just give me a sec because I forgot to get my thing out. Okay, so let's have a look. So I've got 19 inches. So I need a strip of marzipan that will be 19 inches and 3 inches tall. Okay, let's do it. So what are you all doing for Christmas this year? Is it busy? Have you all done your shopping? You all organised? I'm not, I never am. I have a daughter who has a birthday on the 8th of December. So Christmas doesn't get mentioned in my household until she's had her birthday. We usually do the Christmas tree the weekend after her birthday, and it's all systems go for the whole family after that. It's great though. I mean, it's really busy, but it's exciting. You know, it's great. It's great when you have little kids and they're all excited. So let me know what you'll be doing for Christmas. Are you making Christmas cake? Are you going to try a fruit cake or something else? I'd love to know. I'd love to hear your stories, so let me know. What are you doing? Okay, let's get this rolled out then. So we need a nice strip of marzipan that is going to go around our cake, okay? Again, we've got our spacers on, so you're not going to get bits that are thicker than other bits. You can get these spacers on Amazon. Wilton do them. I know how to link in the comments below now. Well, not in the comments, but in the description bit. I know how to do that now. So I can link where you can get these. I can link the Amazon link if it will help you find them. A bit easier. They do help if you're just not very confident in rolling fondant out to the right width. Most people would recommend you roll your fondant or whatever out to 1/8 of an inch. But for me, it depends on what I'm doing. Sometimes, especially chocolate cakes and darker cakes, I don't want the colour of the cake to come through to the fondant. So I tend to use slightly thicker. It's ever so slightly thicker. You're not going to get a doorstep of fondant on your cake. So it's fine. Can't remember how. 19 inches, did I say? 19. Let's see how much I've got. I've got 19 inches. and a bit more, and I've got 3 inches high all the way across. So I need to get my pizza wheel so I can just get these lines nice and straight, especially for the bottom edge, so it's not all jagged. So bear with me, sorry, I'm a bit unorganised. I thought I had everything out that I needed. So I'm just going to trim this down so it's nice and straight. Okay, right, always make sure you've got a nice stainless steel metal ruler, stainless steel ruler when you're working. That is only for you, that you only use it for your cakes, so you can keep it clean. Oh, looks like I'm going to go a little bit higher than that. There's our 19 inches there. So do I have 3 inches there? Just. I'm sure I can patch that up. Okay, I need to take a little bit more off. This is going to be a tight fit, but we're going to work with it. Just try to get those bits a little bit thinner. Okay. There we go. Right, so we're just going to trim this down a little bit more. Go. You can keep these little bits. If you're going to do another fruit cake, you can use these to cover. I'll be doing some super cute mini fruit cakes, hopefully this week or next week. I'll try to stick the camera on if I've got time and whatever, and I'm able to do it. I will stick the camera on and just do a little demo. I don't know. I might just keep it as a little surprise. If you'd like to see me demo mini cakes, then let me know and I'll do it. You're such a shy bunch, you lot. You don't talk much, do you? You can talk, you know. I think I'll go a little bit higher than 3 inches where I can, so I've got some trim space. So I'm just scoring along my marzipan, so I've got a line to follow when I have to cut it. Makes it a lot easier when you do that, instead of guessing it and then you go all crooked. It's always better to have a little bit more. Don't try to measure it exactly. Don't try to cut it exactly to the size. Always leave yourself a little bit more so you can trim that off, because it's better to have too much than not enough, and then you have to take it all off and start again. Okay, so right, that's our marzipan strip ready. So now I have to bring the cake back in and give it its coating of apricot jam. Okay, so here's our cake ready to go. So we're going to get our pastry brush again and we're going to coat the sides. Nice coating of apricot jam to help it stick. Don't forget to look out for those little fibres, loose fibres that might come off. You don't want them in your cake. Okay, go right up to the rim. If you wonder why you have to cover a cake in marzipan before fondant for a fruit cake, it's because fruit cake's quite bubbly. Well, it's nice anyway, marzipan and fruit cake kind of goes together. But to get a really smooth finish, if you was to just go ahead and fondant this cake, you will have nobbles and bobbles everywhere. So the marzipan just helps to, as well as adding another flavour to the cake, and it's absolutely delicious, it just helps to fill in all those bobbly spaces, so your fondant will be a lot smoother when you go to fondant your cake. Okay, so we're going to get our strip and on it goes. So as you can see there, I've got a nice little overflow. I've got a nice little lip there at the top, which is great because now I've got some that I've got an excess amount that I can trim off. All right, so I'm just going to trim this off at the back. Make sure it's flush to the board as well. See that? All the way around, there's nothing showing. And it's nice and smooth now. So when I go to put my fondant covering on, it's just going to be nice and smooth. Okay, this is going to be a snowy themed cake. It's going to have little robins and things on the top of it, and it's going to look absolutely beautiful, hopefully. So just going to cut that at the back. And then I can go in with my smoothers and then just smooth it all down. Okay. Now because I've got that board underneath, it makes it easier. I'm not worried about the bottom of the cake touching surfaces and what have you. It's a lot easier to move it around. Marzipan's great because it just goes where it needs to go. You know, I can smooth out all these little kinks really easily. I think they should probably try to make sugar pastries out of the same stuff that marzipan's made of, because it's really easy to work with. You can use marzipan for modelling as well, if you're doing any like little animals and stuff, or Christmas, even modelling Christmas decorations for your cakes. You can use marzipan, you can colour it with gel food colouring. So I've got a little lip at the top here. You probably can't see it, you can probably see it through, but all this is excess. So I'm just going to get my knife and I'm just literally going to run that across the top, just bringing it in to seal the top of the cake, okay? And that will just seal the top of the cake for me. And then I can go in with my